Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. What a great Friday it is. Just going to pop on my Instagram live here. Hopefully this will all work. Welcome. Hi, everybody. I'm going to try and position both of my cameras so that I'll try to look in the right spot. So welcome to First Fridays with Fiona. I'm so excited to be doing this one in particular. Welcome joining. Hi, everybody. From Instagram, I can see all the the people who are jumping on live and StreamYard. We're live through Facebook and Instagram, well, separately in Instagram, but LinkedIn and Twitter and geez, everything. But anyway, we're so happy to be here. I am so happy to be here. We started First Fridays. I started it at the start of it was, gosh, I don't know. We've been doing it for a long time, but we basically started it to kind of give updates to people in relation to really the travel ban, the pandemic, and kind of the immigration restrictions that we had seen. I think, since I've been doing it, we would ask people to submit questions ahead of time, and pretty much every question was always related to the travel ban. Hi, everybody, waving at everyone here. But anyway, I'm really beaming because I'm so excited that the travel ban is going to be over in like 2 or 3 days. So the countdown is officially on, has been on since it's been announced, since the ending of the travel ban has been announced. And really, we have been waiting for the administration to replace the travel ban with a more science-based approach to travel, which would include vaccinations and testing. And it's almost here. I will say, this is something that's really personal to me as well as professional. So I really understand how tough these bans have been on everybody. And I'm excited that come Monday, they'll be a thing of the past. I put up a tweet during the week last week about this, and just the comments I got were just gorgeous. People showing countdown to Granny's arrival, little like how many more sleeps till Granny and Granddad get here, which was kind of taking me to, it was an emotional thing because I know how my kids have been feeling as well. Some people were saying that the grandparents in Ireland or wherever they are had not ever met their grandchildren. So kind of what that's going to be like. And I'm just so excited for all these reunions. I can't wait to see photos of all the hugs and the kisses and everything. And I'm just super excited for you. But from a legal point of view, there are some things that we need to discuss. So the travel ban is ending, and it's been replaced by a vaccine and a testing requirement. So there are a lot of questions about, what vaccine is going to be will be accepted. What are the testing requirements? And I will direct you to the blog that we've written on McEnteeLaw.com. We've written a great blog. It's called an update on the end of the travel ban, and it kind of goes into all the specifics in relation to this. So the ending of it is November 8th, which I believe is Monday. And there are some exceptions to this vaccine. So the travel ban's ending for everybody, and it's being replaced by a vaccine and a testing requirement for people, no matter where they're coming from. So that's kind of an important thing to know, is that it's not just, it's not just the travel ban countries that are impacted by this, it's everybody. So for all international visitors to the US, unless you meet one of the exceptions are US citizens, green card holders, people on diplomatic visas, children under 18. And then there's other kind of exceptions, but they're pretty few and far between, like people who are on clinical trials for COVID vaccines, people with humanitarian exception. We're not really sure how that's going to work yet. And so, we'll see as well. There's some limited about visa holders who are coming from countries where there is limited access to the vaccine as well. And so it's not really, I can't really comprehensively go into all the exceptions, but there are some, I will say they're quite limited and quite specific. So most people, non-US citizens and green card holders, will be required to be vaccinated prior to entering the US. our Immigration Lawyers Association, AILA, you've probably heard me talk about AILA, AILA.org. They also have a great blog that we have linked to in our blog. So you just need to look at that and see. Another thing that I think is important is figuring out, what does fully vaccinated mean, right? So the administration is deferring to the CDC in relation to what vaccines are acceptable, what is considered to be fully vaccinated. And so the CDC is basically saying that if it's like a two jab vaccine, then you're not fully vaccinated until 2 weeks have passed since the last shot. And I believe it's that's the same for the one jab. It's like the 2 weeks post getting the vaccine. But all of this information in terms of like who's considered fully vaccinated, when are you considered fully vaccinated, that's on the CDC website. We've also linked that in our blog too. But it's 2 full weeks after, 14 days after you've gotten either the single shot or the second dose. And without waiting that 2 weeks, you're not considered fully vaccinated. So if you're planning on traveling to the US and it hasn't yet been 2 weeks since your vaccine, you need to kind of factor in that time frame as well into your travel, that they won't consider you fully vaccinated until those 2 weeks have passed. So that's important. And then also, there's the vaccines that are acceptable. Again, these are all on the CDC list. It's the main ones that we have heard of, obviously the main ones that are accepted, that are administered in the US. And there are some additional foreign vaccines that have been added to the list. And so I think this is like a fluid type list that's being adjusted as there's new kind of like acceptability requirements or whatever standards for certain vaccines. So it's something that's not like set in stone now. So you should definitely look at that and make sure before traveling. There's also, they mentioned some mix and match vaccines and what that will, look like, whether that's considered fully vaccinated. So I would just really encourage people to make sure that you familiarize yourself with the CDC kind of standards, because while the administration, the White House, is the one that kind of rescinded the travel ban and replaced it by the vaccine requirements, the administration is really deferring to the CDC in terms of like fleshing out what those requirements mean in practice. So you should definitely look at those as well. There also are testing requirements as well. So you need to get a test result. I think it's, if you're fully vaccinated, 3 days, within 3 days before you travel. So in those 3 days prior to travel, if you're not fully vaccinated, you need to get it I think it's a day before traveling. And I believe that also applies to US citizens as well, and green card holders. So you need to kind of just look at that as well and see what are the testing requirements in addition to the vaccine requirements. And there's different exceptions for children under 2, I believe, do not need a test. And also, a question that's coming up quite a lot is like, what if you've had COVID? How does that fit into the testing requirements? And I believe the CDC are accepting a positive COVID test within 90 days prior to traveling, with a letter from a health official in your home country or wherever you are, saying that you have like passed your, whatever the isolation, that you've kind of gone beyond the stage at which you might be contagious, or, that you could spread the virus, that type of thing. So you can look and see, but I believe, certain countries you're able to get these recovery certificates. And that's important because there are so many people we're hearing of and not just we, but everyone's hearing of people who are fully vaccinated who are getting COVID. And they're not getting as sick, obviously, as they would be if they weren't vaccinated. But sorry, back on here on Instagram. But it's just like, how do you? My battery's running low. I should be good. Hopefully, I'm still on live there. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, I think my connection's going, but hopefully you guys can still hear me. But that's important. Like, what if you've had COVID recently? You need to look, you have to show your test results, your proof of your positive test, and your recovery certificate. And I know that they're doing those in Ireland, that you can apply and you can get them pretty quickly to show that you, and then you won't need to test, but you'll still need to meet this vaccination requirement. So that's something to keep in mind. So anyway, that's kind of the bulk of it in relation to the travel ban. It's the travel ban is ending and it's being replaced by vaccine requirement and more testing as well. And for those who are coming into the US unvaccinated, if you're eligible to even come in unvaccinated, you, under certain circumstances, are agreeing to get the vaccine when you enter the US. So you just kind of keep that in mind too. Look up those requirements. We will be sharing our blog again on our social media, so you can just see the requirements. You can see our blog, you can see the link to the CDC. You know, this is obviously not legal advice. This is the info that I have right now, some general information, which is subject to change pretty much at any time. So don't rely on this as legal advice, and kind of always do your own, you know, due diligence before you travel. But anyway, I can't believe that the travel ban is going to be ending. You know, after how many months, you know, 18 months of, you know, all these questions about the travel ban and national interest exceptions and all that type of thing. It's finally almost over, and it's such a relief, because it's been really horrific for people. And now, obviously, there's still issues, right? It doesn't, you know, take away all some other issues that we have in relation to immigration. And obviously, there's a lot of people who are very privileged being able to travel on visa waiver program, who don't need to go into an embassy to get a visa. And, you know, there's a lot of countries that are not on the visa waiver program list. So people would need a visa to come to the US. And there's huge backlogs at embassies and consulates. And that one of the questions we received ahead of time was, are we going to be seeing, do we think more appointments for the for visa availability? And I think watch this space. I think that this is a kind of an area that we may see some movement, some activity. Just this week, just yesterday, actually, a client of ours got an email from one of the European embassies notifying him that they were going to be releasing more slots for visa interviews for a certain visa category, and they were able today to get an appointment for this month, and which replaced the only other appointment which was available, which was in the summer of next year. So that was great news for him. We may start seeing a bit more of that as well, although we obviously don't want to give false hope or kind of, you know, create like a sense of, you know, unrealistic expectations. But just we'll see, right? I think that as embassies, I mean, have been dealing with a tremendous amount of volume and requests in relation to all these national interest exceptions and the travel ban and all this kind of stuff as well. Like the embassy in London had said that they, in 1 month, received a volume of emails that they would typically get in a year. So they've been under-resourced as well. I mean, we think that there's other things they can do to perhaps, you know, take the pressure off as well, like expanding visa renewals via mail, Zoom interviews. Anyway, lots of recommendations that Ayla has written in the policy brief that you've probably heard me discuss. But with the end of the travel ban and with hopefully they'll have more capacity to do more visa interviews as well. So we're hoping that might lead to more appointments being available. And if so, you know, then it would be shorter waiting lists. I think one of the questions that we got as well, was somebody just put a question, was whether the visa wait times for visa applications are accurate based on what we're seeing and if they're updated regularly on the site. So this is probably, I think this is somebody's talking about, you can go on the Department of State and you can look up the consular post and see what the appointment availability is like in any particular region. You know, it's not always accurate. It depends. The best way to judge it is, well, it depends on your visa type. It depends on the process that you have to go through. Like if it's an E2 or an O1 or a J or whatever it is, there's a different procedure. So, you know, you have to see when you go through the process what appointment time you can get based on, you know, just what's available in the post at that particular time. Another question that we're getting a lot of questions in relation to this, whether you can get an appointment in another country. So whether you're from the UK, can you get an appointment at a consulate in Germany or, Poland or so on and so forth. One thing, if you can take anything away from this, is you should look at the embassy's website or the State Department. Each post has their own website. And you'll see a lot of them are saying that they're not accepting appointments from third country nationals. So that's the phrase, third country nationals. And what that means is a national of another country other than, like, let's say if it's the embassy or one of the posts in Poland. If you're not Polish or you're not resident in Poland, you'd be considered a third country national trying to get a visa appointment there. Not every post is accommodating those, or they're scheduling those, because they have such limited resources and limited appointment slots. So a lot of the countries are actually keeping their appointment slots for nationals of that country. So somebody's asking, is it advisable to cancel an appointment in a home country and register for an earlier appointment? So I would just say, like, if you have a particular visa, you've obviously presumably worked with an attorney. The attorney of record for your case is generally in the best position to give you advice on your particular case. So this is what I do with my clients. We'll strategize. One of my clients was in touch with me. We were looking all different places to see whether we could get him an earlier appointment. It was for a H-1B visa. And so you probably need, like, specific advice for your situation. So I would direct you to consult with your attorney for that, especially if it's your first time getting this particular visa. They're going to be in the best position to answer that question. Somebody had asked, how are states accepting EU vaccination certs in restaurants, etc.? Oh, I don't know. I think that's state by state. Someone's asking about New York restaurants. I'm not sure. It's state by state. We're in Chicago, in Illinois. So I would just say, it would just depend on what they've deemed to be kind of acceptable. But I would assume if you're in the US and you've come in based on showing your vaccine certificate, showing proof of vaccination, if it's good enough to be admitted into the US with these new vaccine requirements, I would hope that you'd be able to use whatever documentation you have from Ireland or wherever you're from, EU, to prove that you're fully vaccinated and be able to go to any restaurant in New York. I would imagine that would be okay, but that's not legal advice. That's just kind of more of a practical kind of thing. I would assume that if it's good enough for the CDC and for, the State Department to come in to the US, then it should be good enough for entry into restaurants. I'm getting an alert. Okay, so somebody's asking, would an L1 extension renewal qualify for the personal appearance waiver? So someone is asking about basically interview waivers for visa appointments. That is such a specific question in relation to your particular situation. So you should definitely speak to your attorney. So somebody's asking for it depends on where you are. When did your last visa expire? Is it in the same country? I mean, there's a lot of different things that can go into figuring out whether you could renew your visa via mail. And again, I would direct you to discuss that with your attorney. That can be a great option for people, renewing via mail as opposed to having to go in to get a visa appointment. It may take a bit longer, but it also is taking long to get an appointment. So it just kind of depends on what's available. But you need to be eligible. You need to meet those requirements for renewing via mail. And I don't know, without more information, whether or not that will apply for you. Someone's asking, are they asking for your vaccine cert when applying for ESTA, or is it just at the airport? As far as I know, so this is a brand new policy. It hasn't yet gone into effect, but as far as I am aware, it's in relation to travel and not in relation to visa issuance, or I would imagine ESTA issuance. It's in relation to entry to the US. So I assume it would be when you are trying to, travel is when you'd be required to prove your vaccination as well. So let me see, do I have any other questions? I don't know that I have any other questions on Instagram. We got a couple more that I have, I think, addressed, but I know a lot of questions are relating to visa appointments and availability, third country nationals. Someone had also said, oh, they missed out on the J1 graduate visa. What are your options? What are their options? So that is just, I have no idea about your background, whether you do have any other options. The J1 graduate visa is a variation on the J1 intern. And that requires people to be a graduate, a current student, or a recent graduate within 12 months of graduation. There is another type of J1, the J1 trainee, that may be suitable for your situation, depending on specifics. The J1 trainee is normally 5 years of experience or a degree in a year of experience. So if you didn't meet the requirements for the intern, perhaps the J1 trainee would be suitable for you. It does require a job and pre-placement and all that sorted ahead of time. So it doesn't have, that the big kind of, I guess, advantage of that Irish specific work and travel J1 intern is that you can go over without a job offer and get one on arrival, or within 3 months, within a set time period after getting there. So I don't know if maybe that would be an option for you, something to consider perhaps. But without knowing more, I'm not sure if you'd have any other options. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just so happy to be sharing this news with you that the travel ban's ending. We are going to be writing another blog soon that we'll be sharing. So hopefully that's beneficial. And I would just really encourage everybody to look at the blog post that we have written that's up on our website, and it links to all the CDC guidance. That's where you should be going for testing information, vaccine information, all that in relation to travel, because while the administration is the one, obviously the President Biden is, issued the new proclamation, cancelled the travel ban. They've replaced it by guidance from the CDC. They're really taking their guidance directly from the CDC. So that's where you need to be looking. But other than that, I mean, there's obviously a lot going on with immigration in terms of the budget, with the reconciliation. That's kind of, we're not sure what's going to happen, whether they'll be able to get any immigration provisions in reconciliation. Watch this space to see what's happening there. There's a lot of advocacy going on. And yeah, just happy that we won't be talking about the travel ban anymore. I know it's been really hard on everybody, and personally, like I said, and professionally, it's been tough on us all. So, I'm just really thankful for all the support that we've received. It's meant a lot over the past year and a half, and I'm going to continue to do these updates. They'll, depending on what's going on, they could be short or long, but I'll try and check in. And yeah, so thanks everybody. I'm gonna sign off now. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll see you online. Take care, everybody.